Welcome to another episode, everyone. Greg Bovino, the head of Border Patrol, the head of ICE, the individual who's been going around unaliving American citizens using Gestapo-like tactics. He's been responsible for a lot of violence and mayhem, has now been forced to flee Minnesota. Donald Trump, agrees with Greg Bovino being forced out now. Do not be fooled, though, American people. It is not because Trump all of a sudden has a conscience. No, it is because Greg Bovino, since being responsible or at least having his hands dirty in these murders that have taken place here in the country, has caused too much bad publicity. The people there in Minnesota are fighting back, some even violently forcing ICE backwards. And now they want Greg Bovino out, and he's been kicked out. He's gone. It's about damn time. He's been violent. He's a Nazi. He's been using Gestapo-like tactics from day one. But Trump put him up to this. And Trump still appreciates all of the violence that he's been exacting upon the American people who dissent against this regime. So do not be fooled. Trump still has immense loyalty to Greg Bovino, but he wants him out only because of the publicity. He's telling him behind the scenes, certainly, it's okay. I'll use you again in this way soon. But for now, until things die down, go hang out somewhere. Let's get into it.
A total humiliation and surrender in Minnesota from the tiniest little man in the world. That is the breaking news that we are going to be covering today, alongside an interview with Oversight Ranking Member Robert Garcia, who is letting MAGA know it doesn't matter if they've quit, it doesn't matter if they admit defeat, they have broken the law and they will be held accountable. We have so much to get into and so much incredible news as Greg Bovino, the little itty little bittest SS officer out there.
Little bitty boy. It doesn't matter, Republicans. Y'all going down. You better jump ship now, because the ship is indeed sinking. It's going to sink. Trump is going to be in it, and y'all going to be right in there with him.
Is facing a total humiliation in multiple ways, but it starts with Carolyn Levitt before we get into Bovino, how he got shut down, why he's leaving, and of course, Robert Garcia.
Elena. Thank you. I had a question. With Homan now going to Minnesota, is Gregory Bovino also going to remain in Minnesota overseeing these ICE operations?
Mr. Bovino is a wonderful man, and he's a great professional. He is going to very much continue to lead Customs and Border Patrol throughout and across the country. Mr. Homan will be the main point of contact on the ground in Minneapolis.
Oh, so Donald Trump doesn't want...
So a whole lot of slick way of saying he's out. Someone else is leading in Minnesota. That's a long-winded, he's out of there. With someone else is leading Minnesota now. He's still going to be leading all around the country. Lady, answer the question. KKK Levitt? KKK Caroline Levitt? Answer the question.
Greg Bovino to continue to hang out and harass people in Minnesota. Might it be because he is incompetent? He is a danger to our society? He is ugly? I'm sorry, I just had to include that in there. But no, why Donald Trump doesn't want Greg Bovino in Minnesota anymore, in Minneapolis anymore, is because what Republicans are concerned with is the PR. 2 Americans are dead, and when you hear Republicans who will one day again demand to be taken seriously, and we can never allow that to happen, when those Republicans talk about this, they say, man, this is a real big PR problem. It's bad PR that we're getting. You killed 2 people. This isn't about PR. This should be about putting you in prison for life. That's what this should be about. But Greg Bovino, as horrible as he is, and as horrible as Tom Homan is somehow less preferable than the thumb-looking man with marbles in his mouth when it comes to defending Donald Trump's agenda. That is where he is at right now. And it is because he continues to get caught in lies. He makes the administration look even worse, which is hard to imagine, but not only was he shut down on CNN yesterday, but once again today by Jake Tapper. It's the humiliation that led to this ultimate breaking news. And of course, we're going to get into Robert Garcia as well. Happy to help, sir. Jake Tapper brings receipts after Greg Bovino dares him to call out his deposition lies. CNN's Jake Tapper came with receipts when Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Gregory Bovino challenged him on social media for insinuating he was a liar. Tapper's post about Bovino came in the wake of the Border Patrol shooting death of Alex Preddy in Minneapolis, where Bovino outraged critics with his version of events leading up to the shooting. Bovino claimed on CNN yesterday, "The victims are the Border Patrol agents. I'm not blaming the Border Patrol agents. The suspect put himself in that situation. Obviously a lie." Tapper suggested that Bovino was a known liar by retweeting a judge's ruling from November on Bovino's tactics in Chicago. Tapper wrote, "Bovino admitted in his deposition that he lied multiple times," wrote the judge. Bovino in response challenged Tapper, writing, "Then identify the lie, Jake. No one can seem to find the mysterious lie." Tapper replied, "Happy to help, sir," before producing more court documents. Bovino admitted in his deposition that he lied multiple times about the events that occurred in Little Village that prompted him to throw tear gas at protesters. The court record read, Bovino and DHS have represented that a rock hit Bovino in the helmet before he threw tear gas. On the first day of his deposition, Bovino admitted that he was not hit with a rock until after he deployed the tear gas. Tapper.
So once again, there you have it. He asked for Jake Tapper, to produce receipts that he was lying, and he produced them. The man lying in court. Greg Bovino has been going around the country employing Gestapo-like tactics, producing mace spray. His goons have been out there shooting people. He was on site when Renee Nicole Good was brutally killed. He's been involved in all of this stuff. He's been involved in violent raids. People have died in custody. Children have died in ICE custody, multiple. He's had his hands in all of this. But the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, they support this. They use Gestapo-like tactics. I can prove that they have a cult themselves that pushes racism. This is their ideology. This is what they believe. And this is who sanctioned, along with Trump, Greg Bovino. So again, the only reason that he's leaving is because of the PR. The fact that he's been involved in too many killings and the public outrage is now too much. And so they're just telling him to go and take a back seat until things calm down. And then you'll be able to come back. But here it is. Talk line. A liar. A violent, deranged individual leading a Gestapo group violently. Get out of here.
Added 11 more posts to the thread laying out examples of how Bovino lied repeatedly when recounting his interactions with protesters. So Greg Bovino is a crook, he is a liar, this has been well established. But what he has been is supported by this administration no matter what happens until today, because we have some great breaking news. Journalist Priscilla Alvarez wrote, "Breaking, top Border Patrol official Gregory Bovino and some of his agents are expected to leave Minneapolis and return to their respective sectors." Bye-bye, Bovino. Get the fuck out. No one wanted you there to begin with, and we will let the door hit you on the way out. But that is not the end. Leaving Minneapolis is not the end. There needs to be accountability. It is coming. It is what I talked to Robert Garcia about, as he soon will be not the ranking member, but the chair of the Oversight Committee. We first started with a story we've been covering as well, which is the censoring of every little bit of information about Alex Preddy on TikTok. But stick around for what Robert Garcia, the great congressman, had to say about how he will be holding ICE and Kristi Noem accountable. Congressman, we were just talking about the fact that right now we are seeing The Ellison family, once again, do the bidding of Donald Trump in the form of censorship, not taking place at CBS, but happening on TikTok right now. Lots of my friends who are creators who y'all likely follow are seeing their videos get 1, 2, or 0 views. And it's mostly videos being critical of the administration or sharing clips on the ground in Minneapolis and talking about Alex Preddy. What is oversight going to be doing to make sure that this clear censorship being directed by the Trump administration stops, or what are the guardrails we can put on it?
Look, I think first, this is what's happening right now on the platform is exactly why I voted no on the TikTok ban early on when this debate started, because I knew, and I think a lot of us that were in that group knew that this is exactly what would happen, that a takeover by the administration to negotiate the sell would essentially end up in another billionaire buddy network of group of controllers that Donald Trump has put in place to actually make sure the platform conforms to their world.
So it's censorship all the time with this administration, with this cabinet, with this regime. It was like that from the beginning. It was like that with George Bush, but Trump, as we know, he tried to get rid of Jimmy Kimmel, others. Again, anyone that goes up against him, he's going to try to destroy them. So these people are on TikTok right now making videos about Alex Preddy, who was just brutally unalive. I mean, the footage is unbelievable. The man is already on the ground. He has no weapon at this time. ICE is clearly beating on him. They're beating him first as he's on the ground defenseless. And then they open fire on him again as he's on the ground defenseless without a weapon. And it was multiple shots. I seen a close-up video of this. It was outright murder once again by this paramilitary Gestapo group, orchestrated, manufactured, and put out there, sanctioned by Donald Trump and DHS, Department of Homeland Security. So people on TikTok trying to bring light to this, voicing this, as they do on TikTok when situations come up, these police killings and such. The TikTokers, the influencers get on there, they show video and etc. So the administration is censoring this. Everyone who's putting out a video about Alex Preddy, who was just, again, brutally unalive on video, like Nicole Good was unalived on video, and like Keith Porter Jr. was unalive. Haven't seen any video of it, but also brutally unalive by ICE. And they have footage of this, and they're just speaking about it. Some of them showing footage. I'm sure some of them are not. And TikTok is censoring them for Trump. They getting 0 views, 1 view or 2 views. These are individuals who probably used to get millions of views. Some of them hundreds of thousands of views. Some of them tens of thousands of views. And all of a sudden, they're getting 0 views on a video exposing the murder by ICE. This is censorship at its best and against the Constitution. But again, the Constitution is not universally applied. It only applies to a certain few.
And so what's happening right now with TikTok and the pressure by Trump, by the group that is trying to, of course, acquire TikTok and put in place a kind of new algorithm is horrific for us. And every creator should be concerned. And so, of course, look, oversight is going to take a look at what's going on right now. At the end of the day, we should have been so much more careful, and the Congress should have been more thoughtful in ensuring that this didn't end up being the outcome, which is what we thought from day one.
Yeah, the information economy is already so dominated by Trump allies. You think about Zuckerberg with Facebook and Instagram, obviously Elon Musk, now the Ellisons and other Trump-aligned billionaires with TikTok. I think it's why you saw Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller and Trump and Vance immediately jump to saying, Alex Preddy was a domestic terrorist, or he was an assassin, or whatever, because I truly believe they thought that it would only be one clip that came out, one video that came out, and because it was grainy enough and a little distorted, they thought that they'd be able to tell a lie. Now, I think this all flipped when we saw several other videos and eyewitness accounts come out. You could clearly tell what happened by the first video, but do you think that was the moment when Kristi Noem tried to start backtracking, or Donald Trump said, well, let's wait for an investigation? Or what do you think it was that is now flipped in the administration, that they're so clearly scared of what they're calling a PR nightmare, but was just a state execution? And I think that's what's worse than the PR.
Look, I actually think it's been just the American public. I mean, I think the outrage, not just the people on the street in Minnesota, but across the country, the anger that people have, I think the administration is feeling. The fact that you have some Republicans in the Senate and Congress speaking out, showing a small level of having of courage.
That's all it is. Again, that's all it is. You don't have a change of heart. They did not suddenly gain a conscience, this administration. They're only chastising Gregory Bovino and removing him because of bad PR, because of pushback from you all, the American people who are sick of the Gestapo ICE going around and murdering people. Again, many angles of the killing have surfaced, proving that this was nothing short of a murder. And the administration is feeling the heat. Not that Trump has ever cared about that, but now he must, because and the Republicans are feeling the heat and they want to keep their seats. And this is why the question is floating around as to whether or not the Republicans will eventually turn on Trump as the elections draw near. The answer is no, because they're spineless. But there's a lot of pressure on this administration right now from the American people because of Alex Preddy and Renee Nicole Good, for the most part, and just the Gestapo tactics that ICE has been employing from day one. And this is the only reason that they're trying to do something about it now, by removing Greg Bovino and other things.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the beginnings of a spine against Donald Trump, that is beginning to certainly freak them out. And look, it's not just that one video. That's why it's so important for people to be engaged and to be out and to be, of course, keeping their distance and being safe, but recording these actions and posting them publicly is so important. And so grateful that these courageous folks are doing this in these communities. And so I think finally Kristi Noem and Holman and all these guys understand that the American public is recording, we're watching, we're pushing back. We're not going to accept the bullshit that all of a sudden they're domestic terrorists or they were fighting back or intent on coming and shooting agents. I mean, give me a break. No one is going to believe that. And so I think finally we are pushing back in a way that is really smart, and it has a lot to do with the public and the protesters and the folks that are on the ground.
I think the importance of filming is so evident by the response that we see from ICE. I think that one clip that went so viral of an agent threatening to put a woman on like a watch list or a terrorist list or whatever it is that he said. Are you familiar with what these ICE agents are referring to? Is it just an empty threat because they're like, kind of small dick, insecure little basement dwellers? Or like, is this a real thing that they're referencing? Or is it just kind of a baseless threat?
Look, I think we should take all threats that ICE are making seriously. And there are certain lists that certain ICE agents and others have access to as far as types of threats. But look, this is why when the Senate begins to negotiate whatever it's going to do as it relates to funding, and obviously we shouldn't give them one single vote on DHS funding, not one. But as they negotiate what a package would look like, we also have to make demands. We also have to ensure that these agents are unmasked. That is a bare minimum. Mm-hmm. We should be demanding that agents have cameras. In most law enforcement agencies in large American cities, police officers have cams and have body cams. Every single federal agent should have.
Just as as of recent, police have body cams. Sometimes they turn these body cams off, of course, as evidence shows. But they do have body cams, and these ICE agents need the same thing. But the ICE agents are being recorded in real time everywhere that they go right now by the American people. You might as well say they have body cam. They're being recorded. Everything that they're doing is being caught video right now. everywhere that they go. But it still hasn't stopped them.
A body cam that is inaccessible to them, but accessible to the public. That's how it's done in my city back home. And that's how it's done in most major American cities. And since we've been implementing body cameras, you have seen use of force incidents decrease in these police departments. And so the demands around accountability for these ICE agents is really important. They should know that if they cause harm, if they murder someone on one of our streets in one of our cities, that they have to be held accountable for that. They should have to be held accountable to their actions. And right now that's not happening, which is why it's so important that we record, make these demands, impeach Kristi Noem, that as a party, we rally around abolishing ICE as an agency and stick to our guns. This is a very important, critical moment, I think, for us, and the public is with us.
Obviously, there were a few Democrats in the House who voted for DHS funding. I think almost all of them have come out and said that they regret it or that it was a mistake. I think they should have known that after the first.
Impeaching Kristi Noem should have happened some time ago. These people feel like they are invincible.
Person was killed. I think they should have known that after 1 year of Donald Trump and ICE, or 1 day of Donald Trump and ICE. But we're seeing a marked shift in our party's view of the sloganeering fears, right? It's always a fear of, oh, is that the wrong, word strung together? Should we, kind of move this one around? Should we put a comma? It's always a concern over how we frame things. Has it started to dissipate, or do you see we're going to abolish ICE, we need to defund ICE as something that we rally around, or is it just tell the story how you want, but one central motive, and that's to keep people safe?
Look, I think that what we have to do is be very clear about what we want and what, as a country, we're demanding. And so I think the two most important principles here is one, demanding that there's an impeachment for Kristi Noem, and that we abolish ICE as an agency. The way it is formed right now we cannot change it. We cannot make it better. We cannot retrain these officers to be better. We are importing and bringing in folks now with little to no training. They're recruiting people, in many cases, folks that want to do harm to.
Yes, the more violence you show, the more propensity and proclivity for violence that you demonstrate, the more of a chance you have to be hired as an ICE agent right now. As we know, they're not even doing background check. Evidence shows that you can just go and get hired by ICE, particularly if you're strong and violent. ICE does need to be abolished. I'm glad to hear him say this. And Kristi Noem does need to be impeached. Should have been impeached some time ago. But with the pushback that ICE and the administration is now getting, if the American people continue to keep the pressure on, something is going to give.
The American public with no due process. And then we've got to use every tool in the Congress to demand massive reforms to law enforcement, federal law enforcement across all of our agencies. From a messaging perspective, I think it's simple. It's impeach Kristi Noem and abolish ICE. And we've got to be strong behind that. And I think the community and the country's with us.
Yeah, and I think we're starting to see that from senators as well, who voted to fund the government last time and are now saying that they've decided that they're going to be, putting the foot down, saying we're not going to be giving a penny to Kristi Noem, we're not going to be giving money to DHS. I saw some speculation, as I know she's a good friend of yours, but Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was responding to a lot of those senators. Obviously has a big platform to put pressure. Is there some whipping of senators from the House? I saw a little bit of speculation about that. What does the cross-chamber conversation kind of look like? Because obviously we're banking on them right now.
There's a lot, actually. In fact, many of us are reaching out to our senators to ensure that there's a unified front. Look, I'm grateful that my two senators in California are there and they're solid, but we should be contacting all of the U.S. senators to make sure that there's not one single vote. But it's more than just the vote. We can't just ask for a no vote. We need to ask them to negotiate and to actually get concessions from the administration and from Senate Republicans. Because these federal agencies, look, ICE is one agency, it's Border Patrol. It's the federal agents that are out there that are all being we have to unmask these agents, and we have to ensure that there are proper protocols in place at other agencies besides just ICE. And so I think the negotiation piece is really important as well.
You talk about the messaging that we need to be, delivering as a party. Of course, that's to folks who are going to be turning out in the midterms. But in your role in oversight, do you think about how Democrats need to be messaging about what accountability will look like in the same way that it was kind of Donald Trump's theory of the case that if we make examples out of people with disgusting human rights violations, it'll stop immigration. I'm not saying that we ship a bunch of ICE agents to El Salvador. Well, I don't know, but I'm not saying that. But do you think that it's incumbent upon Democrats, of course, a Democrat like yourself in your position, to say this is what accountability will look like, this is what oversight will look like, to kind of send that message now as we're still, a year out from you having that gavel?
100%. And that's the job of oversight. So I've told everyone, I've told the committee, I've told the broader caucus that our job is going to be to hold all of these monsters accountable for their crimes. And we cannot let the moment just go by. When we win the majority, especially, yes, we'll have a forward-looking agenda. We also have to ensure that everyone knows and understands that what these people did was horrific and monstrous and against the Constitution. Mm-hmm. So if you're Kristi Noem, if you're Stephen Miller, if you're Bovino or Tom Homan, all these folks, they have to be brought in front of Congress. They have to be held accountable. They have to be held in contempt. Some will have to face criminal charges. So all of that, the accountability piece, I think is so important for us to move on as a country so that we can say that this moment can't happen again. And that if you do these horrific acts against people, you are going to be held accountable. And so folks should know that they are on notice, that we are actively documenting all of these incidents, who's involved, who's engaged, because the accountability piece is important for justice.
Yeah. And
shout out to Robert Garcia. Ranking Member Garcia, that you will be held accountable. Donald Trump will not be in office forever. And these individuals here will soon have the majority. And you will be held to come and testify before Congress about your actions. They are keeping receipts about everything that you're doing, all of these violent acts, and Kristi Noem supporting this, sanctioning this behavior. The man just said, you need to be impeached. He just mentioned Greg Bovino's name, Tom Homan. All of these individuals is going to catch up to them soon. Everything that they're doing out here. According to him, they're keeping notes that we're going to make sure that these people are held accountable as they should be.
I know in that justice, you're not judge and jury, but if for some reason some ICE agent was watching, I don't know why they would be, but watching this video, what would you want them personally to know if they're abusing the power, which it seems like every single ICE agent is, but if they're abusing their power and they're just inflicting harm on people because that's what these ICE agents are doing, what do you want them to know about what accountability and oversight is going to look like over all of ICE when you're in the majority?
Yeah, look, I think if there's ICE agents on here, that they should think about what they're being ordered to do, and think about the Constitution and the oath that they actually take to this country. What Kristi Noem and others are asking of agents on the ground, that's not allegiance to the country. That's allegiance to Donald Trump. And to be just thoughtful and careful about the actions that you're taking that are illegal and that are against your own policy. It's come out now in many reports that Noem is asking agents to perform duties that are outside their normal protocol, that aren't even in their own guidelines. And so all folks, especially those giving the orders, need to be very careful and should be held accountable. And they're going to be, not just by oversight, but all the committees in the Congress, especially when we win the majority back.
Yeah, well, then I'm very excited for you to go from ranking member to chair. Congressman, thank you so much for the time. I always really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much.
A 7-year.
Here you have it, people. Greg Bovino, the Gestapo ICE agent who controlled them and sent them on paramilitary type missions is out in Minnesota. He's done. But again, not out of loyalty, or excuse me, not out of, because Donald Trump or DHS has developed a conscience, overnight. That's not it. He's only out because of the pressure that the American people is putting upon the administration because of his Gestapo-like tactics. That's the only reason. Again, they're behind the scenes, no doubt in my mind, telling him, just lay low for a while and you'll be okay. We're going to get you back going. For now, he's out. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. And subscribe to the channel, folks, if you have not done so. Reactionary Politics with me, Damian Porter. Stay safe, stay free, and power to the people. And hey, I'll tell you what, they're coming after Christy Nome and them. Ranking member Garcia just made it clear. They're keeping tab, they're keeping score, they're watching everything that these individuals are out here doing, and they will be held accountable when the Democrats went back to the majority. They better take heed. Stay free.